Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning for the Influencer Payment Playbook webinar. We will share with you everything you need to pay fast, fair, and fully compliant. And we really hope this webinar will be useful for you and you will learn valuable insights. I'm Camille. I'm the marketing manager for France for Kolsquare. And Erica, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. My name is Erika Hubert. I'm head of legal and compliance and also DPO at GigaPay, Kolsquare's payment partner.
Yes, and we are so thrilled to have you this morning, Erica. So, on our agenda today, first we will start with some intros just to tell you a bit more about Kolsquare, about GigaPay. Then we will discuss key pain points for different actors of the industry and move on to the solution, which is centralizing and automating payments. And then we will have a special interview with Erica, and we will keep some time at the end for some questions. So if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat. We will answer at the end of the session. But feel free to ask any question you have. Great. So to tell you a bit more about Kolsquare, we are Europe's #1 influencer marketing technology. We have over 1,000 clients that trust us in over across 30 countries. We're an all-in-one influencer marketing platform. So we allow brands and agencies to search for creators depending on different criteria, thanks to our semantic AI-powered search engine. And they can also then manage their influence campaigns directly in the tool, automatically gather the creator's content, access detailed reportings, data. So really from start to finish. We are certified B Corp since 2024, and we're very invested in making the influencer marketing industry a better place through responsible influence. And our goal is to make our clients' lives easier and drive positive change in the influencer marketing industry.
Nice. And now goes for a small presentation of GigaPay. So GigaPay is Kolsquare's payment partner. And what we do at GigaPay is that we help our clients pay creators at scale by being the intermediary between the company and the creator. So what it means for companies is that we take ownership of the payment operations, including compliance, removing the hurdles of mass payments to influencers, so that the teams can focus on high value tasks. And for creators, what we do is that we allow for instant payments. So by streamlining a slow operation, GigaPay is able to turn what used to be, for example, like a 60-day waiting period to get paid to payment in a few seconds. And of course, the influencers we're working with love it. And the proof is our NPS score of 89. And we have recently been ISO certified as well. So wanted to mention that as well. And happy to be here and to talk about payments more in detail during this presentation.
Amazing. Thank you, Erica. So now that you know a bit more about who we are, Kolsquare and GigaPay, let's take a step back and look at why influencer payments are such a key topic right now and why we are here this morning. Firstly, the industry has changed a lot. Influencer marketing is no longer just about paying someone to post about a product on Instagram. Today, we're talking about long-term brand collaborations, content being repurposed for paid ads, for UGC, performance-based deals, exclusive rights, and much more. And this shift means creators are playing a much bigger role in brand strategy. And with that comes more complex contracts and financial arrangements. And as collaborations get more ambitious, of course, so does the admin around them, and especially on the payment side. The second thing, we're seeing a real professionalization of creators. Many have started running their own businesses for their content creator activities. And while for most it's considered a small business, it can also grow into a significant company because there are like macro and mega creators out there. And nowadays, creators, they are tracking performance, they're negotiating usage rights, they're building long-term partnerships. But this also means that their expectations are rising, and this is actually the truth for both sides. Creators, they expect timely and reliable payments, and payment delays, they can damage the trust. We'll discuss this a bit more afterwards. And finally, The reality is that financial processes, they haven't always caught up with this evolution. And what we see is that between, multi-market campaigns, different currencies, the evolving tax regulations like DCA 7, we will touch base on this again afterwards as well, and the huge volume of creators being activated for campaigns, it's actually quite easy for things to fall through the cracks. And that is why the question of payment has become more than just an operational detail. It's really a strategic lever for building trust and protecting reputations and scaling campaigns efficiently. And it's also why solutions like automated and compliant and creative friendly payments, all that built into your workflow, is really becoming essential. And now let's discuss the main pain points when it comes to influencer payments that we have gathered. We've already talked about a few elements just in this intro, but let's dive a bit deeper in those pain points per persona. So let's start by taking a closer look at what's happening on the creator side when it comes to payments. So many creators, we said this earlier, they operate today as independent professionals. They are mostly small businesses, and that means that they're managing everything themselves. So content creation, client relationships, admin, and of course, payments. And unfortunately, there can still be misunderstandings sometimes around payment terms. It's still quite common. Not every creator will know what to expect exactly in terms of timeline or method, or even who's responsible for paying them. Is it the brand? Is it the agency that's going to pay? Who should I send my invoice to? Can I send it before the partnership has taken place when we sign the contract, or should I wait after the partnership has ended? And this lack of clarity often leads to significant mental burden, especially when creators have to follow up on invoices or deals with missing payments. And based on a recent market study that we did on creators in Europe, and that actually isn't even released yet. This is an exclusive sneak peek and preview just for you. A significant portion of creators report late payments, and some report not being paid at all for certain collaborations. So we have two numbers here. The first one being 62% of creators in Europe that took part in this study say that they receive late payments for collaborations, either sometimes, often, or always. And while this is a frequent thing in many industries and overall for influencers, yes, but independent workers or freelancers, 62% is still a significant number. And another important number that I thought was quite striking is that 22% of creators report they have completed a collaboration in the past, but never received any payment for it, which is quite wild because that is more than one creator out of five. And I think that would be pretty problematic for us if 22% of us didn't, receive the payment we were due for our work. So that's something to keep in mind. And something else we notice is that the follower size matters for this issue. So, for example, nano and micro influencers, those with under 100K followers, they're more vulnerable to not getting paid because larger creators, they tend to benefit from agency support or more robust agreements, which helps secure the payments. So these are a few of the main creative pain points, and let's have a look at influencer marketing manager platform pain points. So they are the people orchestrating campaigns for the brand or the agency side. And these teams, they often manage dozens or hundreds of creators across multiple markets. And that's a huge coordination effort. Payments are just, one part of the puzzle, but it's still a critical one. And as we said before, issues with payments, they can really damage the trust they build with creators. And without a solid and streamlined process, they're often juggling with different payment terms, different currencies, varied invoicing styles, and regional compliance requirements, of course. And what we see is that this complexity opens the door to errors and delays and frustration for both the marketing team and the creators. And even something as simple as a missing bank detail that can stall payments for weeks, and that reflects poorly on the brand. And another major challenge for them is the lack of visibility. Influencer managers, they often don't really know the status of payment if they're not working like so closely with accounting teams and finance teams. So they could have questions like, has a creative been paid? Was there an issue? Is finance still reviewing it? So this information gap, it not only slows things down, it can also unfortunately damage relationship with creators, and that's what we want to avoid, because it's especially important in this space, to have trust, and brand reputation is really key. So these are the pain points that we've noticed for influencer marketing managers. And Erica, what about financial managers?
Yes, so I put a few points here, the ones I thought were maybe the most relevant. So the first one is multi-currency and multi-currency payments and fees. This is especially the case when a company is expanding their influence operations and are working with influencers on different markets. And it becomes very important to check in the contract negotiations what kind of currencies you are using, where the budget originate for, and kind of ensure that there is cost optimization being done to ensure that the costs are being kept to a low level for the company. The second one is tax compliance, because depending on where the company is established and where the influencer is established, there may be different requirements when it comes to reporting to tax offices. It could be also withholding taxes, and that means that you would have to keep all the proper documentation at hand and make sure to follow the reporting processes that are relevant. Another one is vendor onboarding. Vendor onboarding can really be a bottleneck, as it usually is the first step before the collaboration. You need to onboard the influencer, and depending on the questions asked and the back and forward, maybe there is missing information. It can slow down the process quite a lot, or even stop the marketing team from actually starting the collaboration. Um, we do also notice that a pain point can be invoicing. When you have a high influx of invoices coming in from creators, maybe you're working with a collaboration with 100 creators to receive 100 invoices. It can create a lot of extra work, and also the invoices can look very different depending on the country of the influencer. So it can create a lot of extra work, and the back and forth with the influencers can come at a cost. And especially because influencers may be more focused on the collaboration itself than the invoicing as well. So it's also about helping and kind of educating the influencer on the other side. Uh, Another thing we noticed that is kind of tied to this vendor onboarding and invoicing question is the volume you get in-house uh, at different time of the month when the collaborations are happening, or when it's time to onboard the new influencers for a new collaboration. And this can pose a lot of volume problem, but also automation challenges, because here it's about prioritizing which steps of the process can you potentially automate in-house. Um, Another point is PO management and cost center optimization. So it's all about knowing who is going to raise a PO, uh, who is approving that PO internally, how is it communicated internally, are the processes set, and also about ensuring that the costs are assigned to the right cost center so that you can keep track of the different costs. So it could be even like traveling costs or food costs. These kind of things can be important to keep track of depending on the collaboration and what's going on. And the last one is VAT exemptions, because depending, of course, of the company where it's based, and also the influencers that are collaborating with the company, there may be a lot of in-house work when it comes to VAT, and also educating here as well the influencer on the other side. Um, so yes, I think these ones are the main points. I also wanted to present different types of clients we have, and different kind of pain points they may have, or things they may focus a bit more on depending on their business, basically. So I picked one example that is more based on one market, a second one that's on the European market, and one that is more about multinational. So when you look at a company based in one market, typically it's maybe a smaller company, or company that is has just started with influencer collaborations, wants to test it out on their market, or maybe they just have the strategy to stay on one market. And what we notice here is usually that operationally they have smaller teams. So there is a more of a strain on the teams when they have to handle invoices or when they have to handle the vendor onboarding, etc. But also the things that they may focus more on are country-based. So for example, if they are based in France, they may be focusing a lot about what to add in the contract so that it's compliant with new regulation or new laws that have to do with advertising in France. Or they may also focus a lot about invoicing, educating influencers on the other side, verifying if they can actually collaborate with individuals or self-employed creators in their country, what the requirements may be in the case they are working with individuals, if they have some kind of employer responsibility, for example, if they need to withhold taxes, report taxes, etc. So I would say that for companies that are based on one market, it can become operationally heavy quite quickly because there are all these questions coming in from different types of users and from the company within. When we look at the second example, which is a company based on the European market, what tends to happen here is that we have a central entity that is operating from one country, but they are expanding their influencer collaborations to different markets. So it could be a few markets, 3 or 4, or it could be the whole EU. And what we notice here is that on top of the complexities that I mentioned in the first example, here they also have to focus on all the country-specific legislations and risks the influencer comes from. So it means that they need to become a bit more specialized in each market in order to understand if there are additional responsibilities, if they are taking on more risks, kind of verifying what kind of what types of people on the other side they can work on, how the collaboration should be set. And it can vary a lot depending on the country. Maybe they need to pay, they need to report taxes in that country. I also know, for example, in Germany, if they're established in Germany, they may need to pay social security for all these influencers. So it's about kind of becoming a small specialist of each market to make sure that the company is not taking on any additional risk. Here as well in the EU, we have different currencies. So that also means that there is a currency and cost management question that comes up here, kind of figuring out what's the most adapted, and also looking into contracts and ask the right question to the right person to make sure that everything is kind of set in the processes. If we look at the third example, which is multinationals, which is without doubt maybe the most complex system here. So here, usually, when you have a multinational, they may have entities based in different countries, and each entity may have different processes, payment terms, completely different ways of actually handling the budgets. Maybe some entities are handling a budget that is used for that specific country. Sometimes the budget is used for another country, for collaboration in another country. So it all depends on how they have set their structures, their budgets, and also how it's benefiting the multinational from a tax perspective usually as well. So what we notice here is that these different entities, they have different procedures for invoicing processes and for budgeting. So I can give a few examples. Maybe, for example, in Dubai, you would require a bank certificate for every payment. You would require like a PO number, a copy of the invoice. Maybe another team in another country would only require some kind of email, you know, to kind of confirm that it's time to pay or confirm the budget. So this means that these different processes may create bottlenecks and kind of also silos that slows down the processes within the multinational. Depending on how the multinational is working, it doesn't mean that the marketing teams are in each entity. Maybe there is one big marketing team that is kind of contacting the different entities for different budget, and that means that sometimes it's hard to kind of follow up on these processes and follow the right processes. And on the other side, that also means that an influencer working with a big brand may need to follow different processes depending on which collaboration they are doing. So this can create a bit of complexity on top of the other points in example 1 and 2. And this is why streamlining these operations may help the companies a bit on the way.
Amazing. Thank you, Erica. Now that we have discussed these pain points and have seen a few examples as well, what can we do to make this easier? Um, the solution that we see, and for us, one of the most effective ways to eliminate the friction is on both, the brand and the creator side, is to centralize and automate the payments through a platform. This can help change everything because for creators, it means that they have less like long onboarding procedures just to get paid, no more chasing payments, and fewer lost opportunities. Because we've seen cases where creators, especially those who are in high demand, they can decline collaborations because the admin is too complex. So if it's not easy, they can walk away. And from the brand or agency side, automated payments can help remove uncertainty, especially when there's a gap between finance and marketing. Avoid those last minute frictions like the invoice hasn't been approved or we're waiting on accounting, etc. And give influencer managers the headspace to focus on what really matters for them, which is the relationship with the creator, the content, and the results. Um, and with the way we have worked with GigaPay and this activation, integration, sorry, brands can preload their influencer budget directly into the platform. And once the campaign is live and deliverables are approved, the payments are triggered. So there's no need to track down the finance team for creators to send manual invoices, and no risk to have this I still haven't been paid message, which kind of ruins the vibe and the relationship. But because a video will speak volumes for me, here is a little video about our payment feature.
Hey, influencer marketers! Are you drowning in heaps of paperwork, endless back and forth with your influencers and accounting, chasing invoices? We've got you covered. Introducing our new payment feature in Kolsquare, the easiest way to pay KOLs directly. You can track payments effortlessly, see what's due, schedule future transactions, and review your payment history, all in one place. You'll have full control and visibility on all payments. Your creators will love getting paid instantly. Your accounting will be happy to have everything grouped in one invoice. Simplify your payments with Kolsquare. More impact, less hassle.
So we hope this made you curious about the feature if you don't know it yet, if you haven't tried that yet. If you have any questions about it, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll answer afterwards. But now let's have a little interview with Erica. Erica, we're so happy to have you here, and you've shared so many really precious insights this morning. But we want to, go a bit deeper on getting to know GigaPay and what you do. So perhaps could you tell me a bit more about yourself and, since you joined, can you tell us about what sparked the idea behind GigaPay, basically the story of the company?
Yeah, of course. So as I said in the beginning, my name is Eric Hubert. I'm head of legal and DPO at GigaPay, and I'm also the editor in chief of a newsletter called the Legal Brief, talking about the creator industry, but from a legal perspective on LinkedIn. And I've been working at GigaPay for almost 4 years now. So what kind of sparked the idea behind GigaPay is that in 2019, creator payment solutions were not really a thing yet, and also well, there was a lot of complexities when you wanted to pay out an influencer, because it was quite operationally heavy. It was hard to understand the complexities of paying influencers in different markets, and you also had the heaviness of the whole payment that came on top of that. So what we wanted to do was to make it easy to pay anyone anywhere. and offload a lot of this admin and operation heavy processes that company may not want to focus on because they tend to want to do a collaboration, not necessarily work on all the difficulties that come with the payment. And basically the idea is that it's very easy to pay people, especially in 2025. It's easy to find a way to pay someone. However, doing it in a compliant and efficient way is still quite hard. So this is what we focus on and we work on.
Very interesting. And I know you'll be able to share a bit more about this afterwards, also comply like tips.
Yeah.
But for now, I have another question, which is you work with a lot of creators. How important for them is it to be paid instantly? It obviously is a lot, but do you have a bit more insights and data on that?
Yeah, of course. So what we have noticed is that 70% of our users claim the payment within 24 hours. So that really shows that fast is important and that if the compensation is available, most of the creators will click and try to get the payment quite quickly. So that really shows like the importance of the accessibility of the compensation. Um, After we have received the payment from the client, we offer different payment options for the creator to collect the money. They can send us an invoice, or we offer also an option where we can generate the invoice for them. And when given the option, over 90% of the creators choose not to create the invoice and just to click on one button and receive the money instantly. So we see that this kind of like option is a game changer for many influencers, and we do believe it's what drives our positive feedback from creators as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I'm assuming they also want to go spend time on what matters to them, which is creating the content and less.
Exactly.
And in how many countries is GigaPay operating? How many countries are covered?
So for now, we have 40 countries available in the product, but we have been researching many more countries than that. So we do have over 80 countries in total research that are available on request.
Amazing. And maybe for the people who are watching, do you have any tips on, um, for efficient and creator friendly payment processes?
So I think the main point is probably to keep the creator in scope when creating the process. So a few of the interesting points could be fast payments, efficient processes, and I think about the fact that the influencers, they are not regular vendors. They don't necessarily have the cash flow to wait too long, and
Mm,
also they don't necessarily have like a team behind them helping them. So it's also about making it as easy as possible and keeping the creator as a center point of the process.
yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Um, and I think you have a few tips and just like pieces of advice for brands who want to improve their operations and stay compliant. Could you share those with us?
Yes, of course. So I made 10 tips. And as I'm a lawyer, I kept the legal points first. So my first point here is to verify national legislations and requirements. I wanted to clarify it a little bit because it's quite wide, but some of the points I thought were interesting are advertising law, kind of figuring out, depending on your market, if there are specific rules when it comes to advertising alcohol, advertising to children, cryptocurrency, plastic surgery, all these things that are kind of discussed quite a lot right now in the media as well. Also looking into specific requirements applicable to influencers. So do they need to be registered for a license? Do you need to pay social security? Would you need to do some kind of tax reporting? In that case, where would you need to do it? Is it in your country? Is it in the influencer's country? Does the influencer have any requirements on their side to do some kind of tax reporting as well? And also royalties. Do you need to pay royalties? How does that look like? Etc. The second point is to look into the relationship with the influencer. And first of all, it's about adapting the onboarding to the influencers you are working with, so that you're asking the right question to the right person, and also verifying their status, so that your company is not taking on too much of a risk when you're working with that specific influencer. And also looking into the contracts, making sure that the relationship is clearly defined, so that you don't have bad surprises later, and that everything is very clear and set in the contract. Then I wanted to do a small point about invoicing rules, but basically it's just when you're expanding and working with influencers in different countries, you may get more questions about VAT registration, reverse charge, all these things. So it's about verifying the invoicing rules and making sure that you kind of have a basic knowledge on how different invoicing rules may look in different countries, so that when you receive an invoice, you actually know what to expect and know how to handle questions, etc. The fourth point is to expand to 1 or 2 markets at a time. I think it's more easy to explore the risks and ensure compliance when you're doing it that way, because then you can test the waters a little bit. If you get a lot of questions, you know that maybe you have missed something in your processes and you can adapt. It also gives you the possibility to offer options that are adapted to the applicable market, because some markets, maybe they really need some kind of payment service, for example, that is super important in that market. Or maybe in certain markets, you will see that you cannot work with individuals or people who don't have a license. In that case, maybe you need to verify these licenses and have a process for that. The fifth point is automation. So I do think that automation of certain processes is a real time saver, especially when it comes to onboarding and invoicing, as you can get a very big amount of information that you need to process and verify. And on top of that, I think it removes a lot of the risks for human error. The sixth point is having an agreed upon budget beforehand. So this is also about PO management, how to use the PO numbers internally, externally, and making sure that everyone within the organization is following the same processes, so that you have a good follow-up. And that actually brings to the seventh point, which is cost controls, that is quite linked to that. So basically itemizing, attributing costs to different cost centers when establishing a PO or a budget. It makes it much easier to optimize and know how you're spending that budget, making sure, for example, like the example I mentioned a bit earlier in the presentation, if there is a budget for food or for travel costs or living costs, all these things, it's much easier later on to see and optimize your spends when you have actually created different cost centers and assigned the budgets there. The eighth point is having a clear process. So it can look a bit different, but I think it's really good to have a lot of things defined in the contracts already, because it makes it easier to go back to that contract and see, okay, so these were actually the rules of the game, and you can go back, you can read, and you can see, okay, so maybe I missed something, or I was a bit late with giving my deliverable or whatever. And setting these kind of clear deadlines in the contract, but also eternally, can help a lot, because you will be able to, for example, if you set a deadline for deliverables, after that deadline, you can start verifying all the deliverables together. That means that you are focusing on that, and then you can focus on something else. Same with the invoices. Maybe they should be completed and approved at the same time, because that will earn a lot of time. And in case you receive invoices later than that, if it's defined in the contract that there is a, like a delay, then you can be very clear with the fact that the payment will come later because the invoice came in too late, for example. And another thing that can be good is to add the invoicing details already in the agreement. That way the influencer can go back to the agreement and actually see, okay, so these are the details I need to use. Another point is to have different control points, because having a process that is defined before starting the collaboration will be much easier to have a better tracking of what's going on, basically, and who is assigned to help with what kind of issue, problem, or question. It could be good, for example, to have dedicated FAQs and contact points in-house to help both with the colleagues in-house, but also if the influencers come with questions, they know who they should reach out to and they can find the information they need. We do notice that even when you have a really good process in place, um, about 15% of invoices will need some kind of manual intervention, for example. So it really shows that you need some kind of control points and assigned responsibilities so that you know how to handle these kind of intricacies quickly. And then I think the thing when you're setting these control points is to always keep the influencer experience in mind, because having these very slow processes without control points can be a real conversion killer for influencers. And then I have a last point here, and it's streamlining the process. So I think that streamlining, automating parts of the process can be a really good way to kind of focus on the task you want to focus on in-house, while kind of solving all these other points basically through a third-party tool or through automation in-house. But I think it can be a really good way to solve some of these complexities.
Amazing. Thank you, Erica, for these very, very interesting tips. I'm sure we have all learned a few things about this. Do you have any questions in the chat? I have seen a few go by, and I know that Fatih from Kolsquare's product team has been answering a few. But if you have any questions about GigaPay, about Kolsquare in general, or about the product that we built with in Kolsquare with GigaPay to pay the creators, just drop them in the chat. I think we might have a few private questions in the FAQ section as well. Someone asking if you can remind us what the DAC7 is. Erica, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, of course. So presented very shortly, DAC7 is came from a European directive that has been now implemented in all the EU countries. And it's basically certain platforms, if they are fulfilling certain requirements, need to report who they are paying, basically. So it's about collecting, the personal details, the tax identification details, etc., to make sure that there is an exchange of information between the countries. So it's basically about knowing who is getting paid and how much.
Thank you, Erica. I see another question for you also, I believe. Does GigaPay have a solution to manage affiliate revenues from sales that don't use an Amazon or similar automated link?
Well, basically, we at GigaPay we do not manage the affiliate, but we manage the payment process. So this is where we focus most of our work.
Great. So let's check the other questions. Is there a possibility for influencers to sign up at Kolsquare platform? So yes, there is a community page. Maybe Fatih, you want to say more about it in the chat as well. But there is a community page where creators can sign up to the Kolsquare platform. But today the primary focus remains brands and agencies. So there is this thing where they can sign up for, they can access their stats, etc. We might or might not work on something in that direction. Stay tuned. Lots of questions. I'm having some trouble following up, but I will go and see if we missed any that were given when we were speaking. GigaPay does not allow me to view the status of my payments. I believe Fetty answered that they do. And Erica, I think you can confirm that GigaPay allows you to view the status of your payments, right?
Yeah, if you have an account, you can see on your account if there is a payment available. You can see the status and everything.
Amazing.
But if you don't, please reach out to our support and we can help you. Maybe
Yes,
there's
absolutely.
something going on, of course.
In case there are any remaining questions, please reach out to the Kolsquare or the GigaPay team. Even after this webinar, we'll be very happy to help. How do you manage different tax payment across countries, e.g., like for example, KSK tax in Germany?
That's a very interesting question. We do receive quite a lot of KSK questions recently. Basically, we do not handle the tax payment per se because we can't as a Swedish company. But what we do is that we can assist companies that need to pay KSK, which is usually a company established in Germany, with kind of sharing the details they need to do the payment and the reporting. So when the influencers are doing their onboarding at GigaPay and are getting paid, we do collect the information needed for that kind of reporting and payment. So that's how we can assist with that.
Amazing. Someone asked, what's the easiest way to get in touch with you? So I think for me, the easiest way would probably be to perhaps reach out to us on LinkedIn, or otherwise, if it's for Kolsquare questions in general, if you want a demo, for example, I'm just going to drop a link here in the chat so that you can click on it and you can get in touch with our team for a demo. So let me just drop that in the chat. If you're interested in the payments feature or in Kolsquare in general, this is where you should go. So I just dropped that in the chat. And how about you, Erica? Is there like a contact email for the GigaPay team? Maybe they can find it on your website.
On our website, you can reach out on our chat function. Otherwise, we have also the info@gigapay.co email that always works if you want to reach out per email.
Yeah, Gilberto just shared support at GigaPay. So please feel free to reach out to us. Great. I think we have answered most of the questions. If you're interested, we have written a guide about payments at Kolsquare. So you can have a little, you can scan this QR code to have access to it. And I will also share the link in case scanning the QR code is not the best solution for you right now. So let me drop this in the chat as well. If you want to, go a bit deeper, find some elements that we shared today and just have it all in written form, we will also send this in the follow-up email. But this way, you have it here. So in case you want, here it is. Amazing. Well, thank you everyone for joining us this morning. We were really happy to have you and we hope it was useful for you. So thank you very much for your attention and well, speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Erica.
Speak to you. Bye-bye.